Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Taking Over the Photo Pit podcast. We are here with episode number 40 and Jaime Schultz. Now, I've been following Jaime for quite some time and reached out to her to have her on the podcast because she photographs everything. Her Instagram is full of great concert work. She has non-concert work as well, and just is a really talented photographer. So I wanted to reach out to her to talk about her journey, how she photographs pretty much everything, and her tips to pass along to you guys. So she's really sweet, and I'm just so excited to sit down with her. And we also share a last name, which cracks me up. So very excited to have her on the pod, and we're going to jump right into it. Hi, Jaime. I am so happy to have you on the podcast. I am so stoked to talk to you. I have loads of questions for you. I'm just so happy and honored that you're here with us. But let's just kick it off right into it about like little background about you. Tell us about yourself, how you got started in photography, how you got started in music photography, and all of that fun stuff about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background's kind of all over the place. Photography was definitely always something I wanted to do growing up. So I actually used to take my grandparents' film cameras and like take pictures of like pictures in the house and just things.
Love it.
So it's always been kind of a love. And then when I was in middle school, I kind of realized I could merge the love for music with photography. I think like 2008 Warped Tour was like one of the first concerts I ever went to. And I just remember seeing, like, I had a little like Kodak camera, and I was, back of the crowd. Me and my friends didn't care enough to be up front, but just taking horrible photos. And then I think I probably saw all the photographers in the pit back then and was like, whoa, like you can do this. This is a thing. And then the following year, my freshman year of high school, that summer, I created a music magazine, just like a little blog. And my first show was like 3 or 4 days before my 15th birthday that I photographed.
Gosh.
So I'm approaching 15 years in June of photographing music. So it's been a very long road. But it's been a fun one. And, working for publications and not publications and kind of doing all of it and seeing where I fit and what's the best place. But yeah, I've been doing a lot. I live in the Bay Area, went to college in New York, came back to the Bay Area, been here ever since. So I've kind of been able to see different venues across the country and kind of just explore and do it all.
That's awesome. Your little music publication blog that you
Hmm.
started, is it still active or did you shut it down?
Technically it's still active. I never like deleted or like disbanded the website. So it's funny, I'll still get updates from like my elementary email address being like, hey, like 5 people looked at your website this month, because it was, I think, through Wix. So it was free. So I never really put that much effort into shutting it down. Um, but I ran it from 2009 through, I think, 2013 or 2014 while I was in college. And then I started shooting for other publications that were bigger, because running it all by yourself and doing album reviews and shows and literally everything just became too much. Because I was even doing, like, anytime alt press came up with something, I'd be like, oh, now I gotta write about it, and like would do it. And in high school, it's so much
A
work.
lot.
So I gave up on that after a while and just started doing it for other publications.
You're currently working with publications. How does that go? Like what does it feel like to work with these publications? How did you get in contact with them? How did you get started? Were you the one reaching out? Like, give us the background on that.
Yeah. So when I was in college, I got to the point where I really wanted to expand outside of like metalcore and alt scene,
Okay.
because I think back then, especially, those were a lot easier to get into for photographers. But I wanted to do like arenas and rap artists and like really wanted to expand. So for me, I was able to find a publication that was a little more established and a little more well known. Still a relatively small blog, but big enough that I knew I could get other things. And so I reached out, I think, on Facebook, the editor, and was like, hey, like, I've been doing this for a long time, like, but I really don't want to have to do it all by myself. Like, can I just like swoop in and join? And it originally was just gonna be for like the remaining like 2 or 3 years I had in college, and then I was gonna bow out of it.
Okay.
Um, because in college, a lot of my professors were like, hey, your work would be a lot better and we'd be more interested if you were touring or you were doing like backstage stuff with artists. And that was something I was like, okay, well, I can't just like walk in as a freelancer and be like, hey, let me spend the entire day with you. Like,
Yeah.
I have to have some sort of reason. So that's why I kind of went into a different publication and kind of used that as an excuse. Um, and then I continued doing that. Touring didn't really ever happen, but I was still able to do a lot of what I call day in the life features. So I would just like follow people around and do whatever. And that became my senior thesis and all that stuff.
So when you graduated, were you like, look, I'm just gonna do photography that I love? And like, did you just like go all in, or like how was that transition from
Yeah.
college to, I guess, quote unquote, the real world?
Yeah. So I definitely still then had quite a big ego surrounding myself. Being like, hey, I started shooting at 14 and now I'm 22 and I've been doing it for so long, I mean something. When really, I was like, I shoot for a publication, I don't make money. Like, am I really that important? But that was like an ego I threw out a lot. And I know a lot of people that have known me for a long time will be like, yeah, you toned it down a lot over the years. Like, I put myself in check. Um, but the goal was still to tour. Every summer I tried with Warp Tour. I would email like every manager I could find an email for him who's like, please somebody take me on tour. Just I don't even care how much you pay me. Just like please let me have this experience. And I definitely still went into it being like photography is going to be my full time.
Hmm.
Uh I came home after I graduated, which I still deem another mistake. I think I should have stayed in New York. I think I would have had better opportunities.
Hmm.
Because San Francisco's to me a wasteland for creativity. Like there's really nothing here. It's all tech.
It's all
And
tech.
it's just
Yeah.
like it's insane. The people that I know that have made a living in photography out here, I'm like, I genuinely have no idea how you're doing it. Um, so confused. But I still so photography for me too, like as much as I love doing concerts, I don't need that to be my paycheck at the end of the day. Like, I was working in e-commerce and I was totally fine doing that. I love doing
Hmm.
it. It was a relatively easy day. It was a 10-hour shift, so it wasn't physically the easiest day, but it's pretty cut and dry what I was doing. And then my company moved to Arizona and we all got let go and I was like,
Uh,
oh. So I've been, trying to rebuild that. Oh, we got a cat coming. Hi, Spike. Come here. Oh my goodness. We got him. Come here.
love cats on the
I know, my
podcast. I
big boy.
really hope he meows.
You know what? He might. He's been sneezing, so he might throw a sneeze in there too. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's like finding your place in the industry amongst a sea of like thousands of people.
So difficult.
Yeah,
So
so that
difficult.
that's been interesting. But yeah, I've since even before college, I was like, photography's the end goal.
I feel you. This, like, I think the world is so strange right now, a lot.
Yeah.
And like, when I started this podcast, it was during the pandemic and it was like the same thing all over again.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of us just trying to figure out what we should be doing, and like what we want to do and whether or not it's like stressful. I have a day job and then do photography on top of it.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's very hard to for me to make a living, but there's a ton of photographers in LA too. So
Yeah.
there's, a whole bunch of industry specific things that are just difficult, that I totally feel with you and your photography. By the way, I'm trying very hard not to start laughing
I know
because
he's just
Jamie's
being
cat is just like right up in the Zoom and it's just
hi.
cracking me up. I love it. We
Yeah,
love
once his
we
sister
love
comes
cats
out, it'll be a
here.
party.
um so I'm curious, did you go on tour? Are you fully just with publications? Like what is your like current state of how you do photography?
Yeah, so unfortunately touring never really worked out. I tried for years. From probably like 18 to 22, so like end of high school through college, I really every summer was like, this is my time. If I get in
Mhm.
now, like I'll be set when I graduate. Never really happened. I think a lot of it, I hate saying it, but has to do with being a female in the industry, especially going into like the metalcore scene and the Warped Tour scene. There's Spike, can we get we're butt in the camera?
But in the camera. Love it.
But I think I remember I had one instance where I think I emailed like the lead singer of a band because I couldn't find a management contact. And they were like, yeah, this will be so cool. Would love to have you. And then I could tell almost immediately they realized that I wasn't a man and went, oh, never mind, we don't have a budget. And I was like, you probably do, but like you realize because my
Oh,
name, a lot of people think my name is Jaime. So they assume off the bat that I'm a man. And so that's been a lot of pushback I've seen, at least trying to tour back in the day. And then I had another artist that I knew off the bat. I was like, this band does not like being photographed, but they're local. I had emailed him just because I was like, you guys are from pretty much the same, we live in the same county. Like, you're on
mm,
Warped Tour. This is like your fourth year doing it. Might as well try. And he responded and he was like, hey, like, thank you for sending like appropriately like written email and not just like demanding access. Kind of just being like, you're really professional and I appreciate your email, but like, we're gonna pass. And I was hoping that I was like, oh, maybe you could just like guest list me for a show. And that wasn't an offer. That never came on the table. So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. And I kind of at that point just gave up. I had a couple offers here and there for like 2 or 3 day like bus runs, but it was like while I was in school. And then my senior year, I had a car, so I was able to drive to more shows and kind of travel more.
hmm.
But yeah, the touring aspect of it just never clicked. And once, I graduated and I was like, oh, it's the real world. I gave up on it because I was like, all right, now I have student loans, all these things. I was like, financially,
Yeah.
touring is probably not the best bet, especially starting out with like small pop punk bands. There's no money there. And I knew that.
Yeah, I feel like the touring is really hard. I've never personally have tried to get into it, but I did like a 1 week kind of like road trip tour
Yeah.
with a band that I was friends with and got that experience. And I was like, honestly, for me, this sucks. I don't want to do it again. I was like, this is miserable. But I've heard the same thing of like people saying, it's really hard as a woman to get hired and have felt like that was the thing that was slowing them down and holding them back from getting these tours. And I've also heard that like it's a lot of recommendations. It's
Yeah.
yeah, who knows who. And if you're not getting recommended or have friends that are recommending you, it's so hard to get into. So,
Yeah,
um,
I, funny enough, at one point was like so dead set on touring that I had artists and publicists write up recommendation letters for me to send out to teams when I was like inquiring for tours because I was like, oh, this publicist is huge. If I get a recommend, and like he did it on his professional letterhead. Like he was like not messing around. He was like, don't worry, I got you. And then I had a couple artists that I knew pretty well that I was like, and a manager too. I was like, I hate to do this, but like, please. Oh, we got a cat.
my
Um,
cat's joining the podcast now.
the cat party.
Cat
But yeah,
party.
like I tried, thinking maybe that would help.
Yeah,
It didn't, which is fine. But yeah, the networking side I've always had trouble with. But yeah, touring, I gave up on that one after a while because I just, it's
it's hard.
stressful. It's a lot of work for not a lot. And you really have to build yourself up a lot of the time. And I didn't think at 22, I was like, do I want to start from scratch again? No, not really.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. So, where does that bring you now? I know that you're
Yeah.
working with Shutterstock.
Mhm.
Um, so like tell us about like what you're doing now, how you're kind of doing the whole oh my goodness, words. Photography thing. Like what are you doing actively and trying to keep up with right now?
Yeah, so I've kind of backed off with publications. This year was kind of like a defining moment for me where I was like, all right, I'm approaching year 15, still not making money consistently. Anything I do for a publication, I'm not making money off of. So this year I was like, I'm only taking paid work unless it's something like I very desperately want,
Mm-hmm.
which
Okay.
honestly, 15 years in, there's not a whole lot of artists out there I haven't had the opportunity to see yet.
That's a
Um,
nice little accomplishment. Being like,
yeah,
hey, look,
like
I've done a lot.
I really have. Like my senior thesis project, I photographed the Who backstage. Like
Oh my God.
so I've had a lot of good access,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, it was all for free. And
Okay.
I'm approaching 30. So for me, I'm like, okay, I really have to put a stop to shooting 100 shows a year for no profit,
Yeah.
especially living where I am. When I was in New York, at least it was like, okay, it's 250 on the subway and I can walk to half the venues I'm going to. Here, I'm spending, 20 in gas, 25 in parking, $7 for the toll, like whatever. I'm paying upwards of $50 to $100 to get to any show. So for me, it's just I kind of needed to take that back seat. Um, so with Shutterstock, that's super new. I've only done 2 events for them so far. Um, but I've realized actually not a lot of people like wires, more so than I
Yep.
anticipated.
Yep.
Because I'm
Crazy
used
part
to
of the
seeing,
industry.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm used to seeing there's like 3 Getty photographers in our area that I see pretty frequently. I was like, all right, if they're here, that means I could also be here. And there's been like, I want to say the last like 10 or 15 shows I've applied for this year, I've gotten denied for.
Yep.
But the shows I could have gotten if I went for like through a publication. So I'm kind of in between figuring out like a good balance there. Like I got denied for Fall Out Boy and I literally
I
had a
did
meltdown.
too.
I had a meltdown because I worked the VIP package. So I was
Ah.
already on site. So for me, I was like, I'm already here. This sucks so much. And they gave me a ticket, like a front row seat. And I was
Mm,
like, yeah, I don't want to be here. I just want to go home. Like I'm sad, because that's something I knew I would have gotten approved for through a publication.
yeah.
Plus, they showed the security guard at the media entrance showed me the list of approved photographers, and I went through it and I was like, huh, this explains a lot. Now I know because it was no big agencies, it was all small blogs that got approved. And I was like, dang. And I
Same
think I
thing
know.
happened here in LA. I got denied, which totally fine, but it was a lot of publications. It was a
Yeah,
lot of, we want photos and a write-up. And it's interesting. I don't think I had the same concept as
yeah.
you of like, hey,
They're like,
there's
this is
all
gonna be
these
an
Getty
audience.
people here. Like
Yeah,
I should be here. And it's wild how the wire agencies, I guess, kind of have like Getty's top tier,
yeah.
and people hire Getty to be there and be like the main photographer of the event or whatnot.
Mhm.
And then it's publications, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, shit, should I go back to publications? But
Yeah.
then
And it's like,
they're not
okay,
getting
well,
paid.
yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, well, do I want to backtrack again? And the thing too with the Fall Out Boy tour specifically, Fall Out Boy isn't anti-wire. It's Jimmy Eats World because they have a rights grab contract. So I think that's what the
Oh,
defining factor was, which at the end of the day, they could have just been like, you can't shoot Jimmy Eats World, but you're fine for everybody else. But that was something that I forgot was there because I tried to photograph them a number of years ago and they had a rights grab, just like through a publication. And I was like, yeah, hard pass. Not for you guys. Not going to do that.
yeah.
So I think that is probably why, because I saw Shutterstock had photos of Fall Out Boy from like their UK tour. I
Okay.
was like, it's not that they're not approving Shutterstock or a wire in general. It's because somebody in there has a rights grab and they don't want wires. Um,
Interesting. I've
yeah,
also gotten with working with a wire a lot more photo approval like requirements, which I
really,
think is
that's surprising.
fascinating of
Yeah,
like I don't think that would have been in there if it was a small publication.
yeah.
And I'll go photograph someone that is totally fine and they're like, we want to see the pictures
Ugh.
before you put them up. And I'm
Yeah,
just like, interesting.
I
Okay.
yeah, I definitely get that a lot with certain artists as far as publications go, which is fine,
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, that's really surprising.
The
It all
wild
goes down to
industry.
that stupid Beyonce photo. That's really where it all stems from.
I literally talked about this
It's
on
insane.
one of the first episode of,
Yeah.
this podcast coming back. I brought that up again because I feel like that photo was such a defining moment for music photographers. I'm curious about like your thoughts on kind of like what's next for you. Are you, really hoping to scale up with Shutterstock? We talked about like publications are back
Yeah.
in. Like
Uh,
are you trying to work directly with artists? What's your next go-to?
yeah. So the goal for the summer is definitely getting on a media team for a festival. That's what I've been like
Mm,
really, really working towards. Um,
yeah,
and
love
just
that.
paid work in general. Because I have been unemployed for almost 3 years. So nobody wants to relocate somebody right now. And it's, all of that. So I'm trying to build up photography in a way that's not publication based.
Yep.
So going through managers and I cold email like nobody's business. I'll spend an entire day like emailing every single artist on a festival lineup, emailing as many managers as I can find for tours over the next 2 months that I have any interest in. I'm also big on not shooting at small shitty venues anymore. If there's no photo pit, I will not be there. I am so over, like, I didn't like it back then when I started, and I don't like it now. So
Yeah.
anytime like a publicist hits me up and I read the venue and I'm like, I don't care who it is. No, I'm so sorry, but like I will not do this to myself. And especially with like Shutterstock shooting in JPEG, I'm like, there's only so much I can do, to fix these photos. And if I'm stuck in a dim, dark room with no lighting, like it's already a hard pass at that point. Um, Shutterstock, I would love to do more. I'm gonna be in New York in a couple weeks during like Met Gala, so I'm trying to get their
Ooh.
team to give me some stuff. Um, but yeah, like ramping up on Shutterstock. Uh, but that's the thing, you're only making commission if somebody buys those photos. So it's still at the end of the day publication work
Yeah.
until something maybe gets purchased.
Yep.
So it's still a lot of like financial output, hoping that you get it back. So yeah, I'm just, doing what I can. Managers are, I'm trying. Not a lot of them are super responsive, and I definitely don't have like super cheap rates. And I
Okay.
don't do video either, which I've come to realize is kind of a negative, but I refuse to do video. So it's like, if you don't want
Well,
photos, I can't help you.
if you add video to your package, it's gonna be
It's gonna be
again
so
not
expensive.
super cheap rates. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
There's so many people I know that'll do photo and video for like $150. And I'm like, can we not do that, please?
Yeah.
Like, and it's one thing to get hired out for like just doing raw footage, which I did. That happened to me earlier this year. And I told the woman like 3 times, I was like, I literally don't do video. Like, I'm gonna apologize now because if these raw files suck, I warned you that like
Yeah.
I don't do video. And they ended up being part of like a tour package, like announcement videos and stuff. So they were taking like
Oh,
4-second clips from me.
yeah.
So it was fine, but I was like, please don't make me do this. This is not what I do. So I try and avoid anything that's like a combo just because I'm not confident in it, and I don't
Mm.
even have editing software. So it's like that's another thing I'm just not willing to just like purchase and figure out again.
So expensive
It's insane.
again. Yeah.
And I just don't have like the visual mindset for video. I think in still images.
Yep.
I just
I
video,
feel the same way.
it's so weird. And for all my friends that do both, good for you. And I appreciate you so much, but can't be me. I, and you know what? At 32, I'm like, okay, I'm done trying new things. I have what I'm good at, and I'm just gonna stick to it. And if I lose jobs that way, you know what? Fine. But
Yep.
yeah, that's definitely a place where I'm just like, I'm not. This old dog doesn't learn new tricks. So I'm over it in that aspect, definitely.
Yeah, I totally feel that. Well, the last question that I really had for you was just a little bit of talking about like the best tip or advice you've ever received. I know we talked a little bit about this, but like what would you like to pass along to everyone listening
Yeah.
that you just want to say?
Yeah, I think it's so the advice that I'm going to give, I did not take early on. Um, Start local, start shooting local bands. That is 100% not what I did. Like the first photo pass I ever got was for Good Charlotte. So I really started with an ego and started strong and was like, I have a magazine, like give me these passes. But I think if you want to get there financially off the bat, local bands is the way to do it. Small venues, don't aim high and like just assume it's going to happen, because although to an extent it kind of still does, not so much as it did before. 10 years ago it was easier to just DM someone and be like, hey, can you guest list me?
Yeah.
Nowadays they're like, no, I don't want to. So I think starting small is definitely a big thing. Learning Lightroom, learning Photoshop is so important. Like
Oh,
just learning the basics, even if you don't go to school for it, just like sitting down and really figuring things out. But like shooting local shows that, you don't have to necessarily pay to get into, and are just practice runs, are literally the best way to work up a portfolio, even if the first year is just shitty photos.
yeah.
Like the first 5 or 6 years of my photography, I won't even look at. It is so bad. I had a Canon T1i. It was a disaster. But yeah, I think working yourself up and not just expecting success off the bat is really important. And like just honing in your skills, and like don't be like me, don't have an ego at 15 thinking that you rule the world, because you don't. But I think that's the most important thing, is just not expecting a lot and just kind of working within what you can do and hoping for that advancement later.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's great advice. Well, Jamie, thank you so much
Yeah.
for hanging out with me today and being on the podcast. Can you give a quick shout out for where everyone can find you and follow you online?
Yeah, absolutely. So my Instagram is definitely going to be the best place. It's Jamie S Photo. I'll spell it out because people always spell my name wrong, but it's Jaimesphoto. And I post everything. If you watch my stories, you're probably going to get annoyed with my cats and every random thing I post, but all of my posts are just photo related. That's really my main place. I don't Twitter is chaos, so I'm not going to recommend anybody look at my Twitter. But yeah, that's my website's JamieSchultzPhoto.com or JamieSchultzPhotography.com. But yeah, that's where I'm at, and hopefully meet some new friends. And anybody ever needs advice, I'm here for it. I'll give it to anybody that asks.
Love it. And by the way, we have the
Mhm.
same last name,
I
which
know,
is
it's so funny.
hilarious. Yours just has the T in it,
Yeah.
and mine doesn't. And it's just whenever I saw your photo stuff, I was like, ha,
I do the same thing
last name
anytime I see
buddies.
someone. I'm like, we have the same last name. It's awesome. You don't see a lot of people with that last name anymore.
We don't, we don't. I love it. Well, thank you again, Jamie,
Yeah,
so
thank
much
you.
for being here. This was so lovely talking to you, and I'll see you around.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thanks.